Top of the hour, let's get you the updates coming in from West Asia as the conflict has now escalated with the US-Iran standoff intensifying and the world watching for the next move. President Trump has now shared a scene from the political drama The West Wing, carrying a stark message for Iran on American retaliation. Now, this clip declares that if an American is killed, then the response should not be proportional but a total disaster. Now, this seems to have fueled debate on social media over whether Trump is simply sharing a TV monologue or signaling his thinking as tensions with Iran continue to escalate. Well, that seems to be on part of the President of the United States, because even when it comes to Iran, it has now been threatening further aggression if the retaliation on part of Iran that has now continued on Israel, and the retaliation on part of Iran that has continued against US bases in the Gulf. So several countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Jordan have been reporting such retaliation. And this fallout of Israel's expanding military campaign in Lebanon. However, what has now been said is after decades that what we are looking, and for the first time probably, that Iran has decided to step in to provide cover fire for its proxy in Lebanon. But now what is being said, what happens to the talks, because President Trump seemingly was not happy with the military action, with the military operation of Israel, but in self-defense, as the US Central Command says, that they have launched these strikes, especially in the areas which are close to the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this particular clip has been shared by the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Scenario 1, or Pericles 1, to use its code name, sir.
What is the virtue of a proportional response?
I'm sorry?
What is the virtue of a proportional response? Why is it good? They hit an airplane, so we hit a transmitter, right? That's a proportional response.
Sir, in the case of Pericles 1...
They hit a barracks, we hit 2 transmitters.
That's roughly it, yes, sir.
This is what we do. I mean, this is what we do.
Yes, sir. It's what we do. It's what we've always done.
Well, Srinjoy and Mayank joining us live. So, Srinjoy, is the dialogue from a film actually the thoughts that President Trump wants the world to know? Is he now further, taking up the action? Because this is something which he has hinted previously, complete decimation.
He has said different things at different times. He has said that he would bomb Iran into the Stone Age. He has said a whole civilization would end that night. So he's said a lot of things. He's also said peace is at hand. He's also said that an agreement would happen within days. So while the president has said different things at different times, this is a different situation. Here, a helicopter gets shot down. Iran denies being part of that process. Then America hits back and hits 3 or 4 targets. Iran then hits back and hits targets where there are American bases, in Jordan, in Kuwait, and so on. So this is called escalation. Now, where is this going to end? Because theoretically, the ceasefire is still in place. So while their ceasefire is still in place, a helicopter gets shot down, several parts of Iran get targeted. Iran targets other countries where there are American bases. So this is ceasefire, right? Now, the next question is, if this is ceasefire, what happens when ceasefire ends? So that's a worry that not just Iran and America and Israel have to face, but all the Gulf states have to face this problem. The region has to face this problem, and the world will be confronted by this problem.
Absolutely, because the indications were to be believed of what President Trump has been saying recently, because he wants this war to end, he wants the deal to be signed. Sometimes he doesn't seem to be in a rush, sometimes saying that a peace deal is imminent over the weekend. Well, that weekend is long past gone. However, we are looking at this escalation, which will be even more devastating if this so-called truce actually falls apart. Now, on part of the IRGC, there's another breaking update coming in, because the retaliation that is now being carried out, the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain has been targeted by a drone attack by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Meanwhile, they have been claiming that they responded to the US strikes by launching a drone attack on the US 5th Fleet in Bahrain. And this is a statement on part of IRGC saying that clashes are ongoing and warned that there would be heavier retaliatory measures that will follow if the US military aggression continues. So mainly, Mayank, looking at the pictures that have also been coming in, this is the Iranian side confirming that the US launched attacks against several locations in southern Iran that has damaged telecommunication tower and destroying 2 water tanks as well. And rightly in its position, Iran has now been striking military operations, military bases of the United States in the Gulf.
And most important is the headquarters of 5th Fleet actually. Mind it, 5th Fleet is very well adorned fleet actually, which handles multiple dimensions, which is air, subsurface and surface, all three. So it's actually a sort of a messaging that they'll be taking things head on. And they have also struck bases which are around in that region. So it becomes, what seems actually things are getting complicated, because also what they have said is actually they were not involved in bringing down the helicopter, which is Apache attack helicopters in that area. And mind it was such kind of helicopters. I mean, these helicopters were used to strike the fast moving boats in the Strait of Hormuz. And when I say Strait of Hormuz, 2 most important points, which were a cessation of enrichment of nuclear fissile material, or allowing all kind of movement in Strait of Hormuz, is still in abeyance. Nothing has happened on that. And here we see things have already got complicated, and we still are using, and as our colleague Sanjoy described it very appropriately, it is all theoretically, actually, it is ceasefire is on. Practically what we see is actually bombs and missiles and drones are getting exchanged from all sides, Israel included in this case. 2 points I have to bring out, which were very consistent right from the beginning, which is 28th of Feb. One was that Israel never gave up on operations on Lebanon.
Yes.
And second point, Iran always had been siding in favor of Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon. And this has continued, although it was overwhelmed in between because of the 2 things, which is nuclear issue and Strait of Hormuz. So are we going to see things getting complicated, or for all practical purposes, do we really describe it as ceasefire is over? We'll have to wait and watch, because Iran has been saying that they were not involved in...
Still, there is no clarity. I mean, what are we looking at in this current scenario? It's been over 100 days of the conflict. Do we still say that the truce is in place, or do we say that the conflict has resumed? I mean, till now, the pictures have been suggesting otherwise. And this seems to be a full-blown conflict. If it actually goes in that category, then it is going to be devastating, not just for the area, but the consequences is something that the entire world would have to face. Now, as far as the IRGC is concerned, it has been saying that it escalated pressure on the US and claiming, on part of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps that they have been claiming that they struck at least 4 key targets at the US Al-Azraq Air Base in Jordan, including F-35 fighter shelters and a command and control center. And the IRGC has warned of further responses if the US continues to attack. So, Srinjoy, does it give an indication of certain help that Iran has been getting from outside? Because how would they know the exact locations? US naval fleet is being attacked. Military bases are being attacked. And in, this latest attack coming in Jordan, that includes the area where there are F-35s being parked.
There has always been talk. We don't know for sure, but there has always been talk that Iran has got satellite help, satellite communications help, through which information has come from some of its friends. Now, whether it's the Chinese who have given the information to Iran, or whether it's the Russians, we don't know. But this has been talked about, that Iran has got help from its friends through satellites, which actually helped its drones and missiles to be better targeted. Now, that is something that was talked about in the 39 days of fighting, particularly the later stages, the later stages of the war. Now, how accurate is that is something that will have to be seen. But it must be said, whether they've got help or not got help, Iran claims, at this point claims, that it has struck an F-35 hangar in Jordan.
Yes.
Now, if that is so, well, they clearly have the information that there are F-35s there and they have struck it. So that's one. Now, how effective that strike has been, whether the drones and missiles were intercepted, is something that we don't know as yet.
Well, they seem to know the exact locations where to hit as far as these military bases of the United States are concerned, which are again coming under attack in the Gulf region. But the counter strikes that has been carried out on part of the central military of the United States, Akansha, will help us understand, because the US CENTCOM, Akansha, has been describing them as self-defense strikes.
Absolutely, and southern Iran has come under attack. In fact, let me show you through this map the key targets so far. Let's first tell you about Sirik. As you can see, this is quite close to the Strait of Hormuz. This is in south part of Iran. This is a coastal city that has come under attack. And also Menab, remember, this is another city that is near the Strait of Hormuz, east of Bandar Abbas there, which, remember, during the initial days of the war, a school here came under attack. Several of the students died. Bandar Abbas, this is a key location and it holds a naval headquarter of IRGC that has also come under attack. And Kesham Island, remember, this has been attacked again and again in the last few days, and this is once again been attacked. All these locations near the Strait of Hormuz, south part of Iran, that has come under attack at this point in time. US has said that this was in self-defense, and these are the locations where explosions were reported just a while back. Amita.
All right. Thank you for that update, Akansha, because this is what the U.S. Central Forces have been describing as self-defense strikes that are being carried out in the areas which are said to be close to the Strait of Hormuz. Now, with the U.S. strikes in Iran, what we are getting to know that retaliation on part of the United States that is being carried out by the IRGC with one MQ-9 enemy drone, as they say, has also been intercepted and destroyed. Now, during the ongoing aerial clashes in the Strait of Hormuz, IRGC claims that one MQ-9 drone, which was attempting to approach and intervene in the battlefield from the skies over the northern Persian Gulf, was struck by fire by the modern air defense of the IRGC. And this is coming in the Bushehr province, and it was destroyed. So we are looking at waves of these strikes, Mayank, that has now been carried out. Self-defense, as the US would want to call it, but as far as important military equipment is also now under target on part of the Iranian side.
One of the research which was conducted by the congressional teams is actually, it said that almost 5 fighters, almost 7 air refuelers, and prior to this particular MQ-9 which has been brought down, there were 12, almost a dozen MQ-9s which were brought down. I mean, these can be armed drones also, and these can be for search and reconnaissance and intelligence gathering also. So what we see is, in terms of assets, these are the number of things which have been struck down by, and mind it, there had been also the kind of signaling places units or radars also, and there had been high-end radars which have blinded, because radars are used to seek or pursue the enemy in this case. So they have been also struck by the Iranians in this side. And now they are claiming that 13th of the, if we go by the number, MQ-9 has been brought down. So, but then what you see is actually complications in the sense, like Apache has already been said that it came down. So it also needs to be added to the kind of assets which the US has lost. So are we seeing some sort of aggravation, or are we going to see some kind of a semblance of mind wherein every side brings down, or rather, I mean, they come to a middle ground, mediate?
Out, Mayank, that these are very targeted, very precise strikes that Iran or IRGC seems to be carrying out. And on part of the American forces that have targeted multiple Iranian air defense and radar systems around the Strait of Hormuz, as Akansha, this seems to be an effort to degrade Tehran's military capabilities in the vital region.
Absolutely. We took you through locations that have been targeted. Let me take you through what has been targeted there, and also take you through the statement that is coming from CENTCOM. They have said that they have struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations, surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz. Air defense systems, they have come under target, which would mean that radar and the surveillance system, they have been targeted. Missile units, so the launching capability of Iran, that has been hit. Water reservoirs, the water holding tanks there, they have been hit, and drinking water tanks there, two of them, in fact, they have been targeted in the latest attack. But the focus there remains on the air defense system and also on the missile units. So the launching capability, the radars, the surveillance system, that has come under attack at all the areas. As you also mentioned, the south of Iran has been targeted, areas near the Strait of Hormuz.
All right. So the operation, what is being said on part of the U.S. Central Command, that it was a proportional response to the recent attacks on the U.S. forces and international commercial ships that seems to be transiting the regional waters. Now, President Trump, also being a businessman, seems to have outlined certain conditions which Iran has been demanding that they need to be compensated on the destruction that has been caused because of the U.S. strikes. And now, on part of the reconstruction efforts in Iran, if the conflict does come to an end, President Trump was asked this question. And in response, he says that, sure, we'll help Iran, especially when it comes to rebuilding and reconstruction is concerned. But there is a significant oil resources of Iran, and America would require at least half of that. So America will take half of their oil, because President Trump seems to be now linking Shinjoy any future assistance for the access to Iranians' energy wealth. And he knows exactly, because after all, he too is a businessman. So he's now saying, if you want our help, fine, ready to give you. But in return, you need to give us half of your oil.
This is President Donald Trump's version of the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, of course, was what helped Western Europe, much of Western Europe after World War II, the reconstruction of Western Europe after 6 years of fighting. And this helped France, Germany, all these countries, Italy, and so on. Now, this is a version of the Marshall Plan, that we will help in the reconstruction. We will give you $24 billion for reconstructing Iran, but we want half your oil. So President Trump making it very clear that while this will be a kind of Marshall Plan, it will be a transactional Marshall Plan, and that's how Iran's oil will go to America, all countries it wants to be sent to. But the question then remains, that 90% of Iran's oil before the war used to go to China. Now, if President Trump says, we want half your oil...
Well, he knows exactly what he's doing as far as President Trump is concerned. Nothing comes for free, and we are talking about war at this stage, because he is now staking claim to Iranian oil, at least half of that. Thank you very much, Mayank and Shinjoy. I appreciate you joining us here on the broadcast.